We're very serious about the contribution we're making economically. In South Africa itself, we put just over 2 billion rand into the economy on an annual basis. If you assume that that money is spent 7 times, that there's a multiple of 7, it means that there is 14 billion rand of economic activity taking place in South Africa as a consequence of us taking material that's been thrown away and putting it through this process. So there's a genuine 14 billion value add associated with our activities. It's not money that was printed in a print press or an undertaking given by a central bank to pay money at some point or another. This is genuine value add. It went from nothing to 14 billion because of our activities. That happens every 12 months. So far as our social impact is concerned, we want to continue with the upliftment of our employees. We want to continue with our investments into the youth. We want to continue with our initiatives towards poverty alleviation. I think it will contribute towards a better future for South Africa as a whole. And then obviously on the environmental side, we want to make sure that we run this business in such a way that we continue to improve the quality of life of people living in Johannesburg. As it turns out, most of the people who live in close proximity to mine dumps were placed there either because of policy or because of financial inability, I should say. Whilst it's not our fault that they're there, we are in a position to do something about their quality of life. The nuisance associated with living right next to tailings dams by, 1, either removing it, or 2, vegetating it and stabilizing it. So that's what this business is all about. It's a broad-based value add, so to speak, and hopefully through the addition of this tailings deposition capacity, we would be able to do that for many, many more years to come, and not just the next 6 or 7 years. This company really was, 2008, was planning to close down. And I think the innovation and the technology investments, the deployment of capital, resilience and commitment of the team had taken it to a next phase. It's on a very, very good foundation, and hopefully this foundation can serve as a good platform for future development. 2 things that stand out. One is our 11.8 million ounce resource. I don't think that's something that's taken into consideration often enough. You'll have little companies listed in Australia and Canada that might have a million and a half ounce resource with large market caps. They drill a few holes, issue a few reports every now and then their share price market cap goes up by a couple of $1 million. This is an on-surface stockpiled resource that's been accumulated over the last 120 odd years, and we have, I think, exclusive access to most of it. We're really the only company that has been positioned in such a way that we can access it and that we can mine it sustainably over the next lifetime for all intents and purposes. We were here when mining started. DRDGold is the oldest listed company on the JSE stock exchange that is still in business. So we started deep level underground mining right at the beginning, and now we're also involved in the second phase, the end phase of mining, and that is the cleanup phase, using the same resource just from a different spot. And what a year it's been. October last year, market cap was 700 million rand. We turned at 4.9 billion earlier this year, with the changes in the cabinet last year first that saw the rand plummet and the gold price go up in South African terms, and then all sorts of things starting to happening in the world as well that are now starting to impact on the gold price again and restoring the gold price in dollar terms. England deciding that they've had enough of the European Union. I don't know if the Turkey conflict is anything to go by, but it does seem as though that confidence in the world order and the ability of governments to manipulate the value of fiat currency, that confidence is diminishing. The extent to which governments are being considered as credible sources of capital, I think that confidence is diminishing. And we do what we've been doing for hundreds of years, is we fall back on the only real currency, the only real way of preserving buying power, preserving capital. That is, we buy gold. We've been kicking around gold and playing around with gold so recklessly in the global markets with the creation of paper gold, as opposed to holding physical gold in a vault somewhere, that I think we might be heading towards a deficit insofar as physical gold is concerned. Maybe the banks got ahead of themselves a little bit. Maybe there's too much paper gold out there and not enough physical gold to cover their position. This is a big plant. This is a really nice plant that the Oppenheimers built for us. And they did a really good job. And I think that piece of technology there, if you just look at some of the step changes that had happened over time, that ball mill as opposed to the stamp mills and how that changed gold mining and gold extraction. Now we're in this phase here, flotation of pyrite and the fine grind. It's all become mechanized. Now go back to the 1920s and those very rudimentary systems that you saw there are now a fully integrated, automated system almost. It's turning into a quiet business. When you walk through this plant, you'll see that our recovery process has become a quiet business. It's almost as eerie as a chairlift. You don't hear anything. You don't see many people. Now we have 4 people at any given point in time manning the flotation and the fine grind circuit. It's the future of mining. It's a knowledge-based labor force as opposed to people moving stuff around in a noisy environment using muscle power as opposed to mind power. As you could see, there's a lot of encroachment taking place. We looked at statistics earlier this year when there was an article being written about the impact of mine dumps and so forth on surrounding communities. And I think the density, the population density around our footprint had gone up from something like 380 families in the 1950s to 96,000 families now living within 5 kilometers of our footprint. So this is where we operate. This is how the demographics have changed in and around our working area, and that is why issues like sustainable development, environmental practice, social impact, why that has become such an important feature of our business. And one can only wonder what would have happened but for the fact that Crown and Ergo have been around now for the last few years to actually go onto those areas. Because can you imagine when these dumps, if they're not vegetated and they were just lying there and the wind picks up with the drought that we've had now in the last few months, it would have been unpleasant. It would have been really unpleasant. So quality of life of Johannesburg and the impact that we can have on that is very significant.